Everyone. We're going to begin this community meeting on the proposed Harris Medical Center. This meeting is really was asked for by the applicant, so we're just here to support them. And North Point Consulting is the applicant's agent, Dr. Stokes, and Julian Berg is the architect, and they are here in the audience. And then Angie, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your last name. Dodd, thank you, is going to be presenting the project right now. And then after her presentation, I'll briefly go over the general plan and zoning map amendment process, as well as how to look at the environmental document and comment on the environmental document. So Angie, take it away.
Thank you, Caitlin. Okay. So we're here for the Harris Medical Center at 272 Harris Street. Waiting for the PowerPoint to start. Oh, okay. There we go. Was that the one that I did? So existing site conditions, the project, actually, I will do the project description in a moment, but we're looking at the aerial view of the church. It's a vacant church that was abandoned over a decade ago, with some accessory structures and an old cell tower that's not part of this project. The cell tower is part of a lease that's been existing for quite some time, and the doctor bought the property with the lease and tower already existing. The proposed project overview. The project is to facilitate, I don't think, oops, what did I do? That is that. Oh, I did it again. There we go. That is, okay, I figured out the pointy thing. So the project would facilitate redevelopment of this underutilized church site to allow for a medical center and increased housing. And it would do that but through this project, which is requesting a general plan amendment and zoning reclassification. The general plan amendment is to change the general plan designation to from low density residential to neighborhood commercial, which would allow for the zone to be changed from residential low to Henderson Center, which is the zone and land use just adjacent to the property. So I saw there was a question. When I'm done, I'll answer question. Thank you. So this is the conceptual master plan for the site, which is the conceptual master plan to be implemented once the city approves the general plan amendment and zone change. And Caitlin will go through the steps of all the processes once that's done and what happens after that's done. But the concept that our architect, Julian Berg, has developed for the applicant is to convert the existing church to a medical center and offices. And you can see that we also have the master plan up here for view and over, and then the front view of the proposed. This is looking at the proposed project from Harrison. Sorry, not Harris. This is not Harrison. This is Harris Street. And then the project also proposes up to 12 residential units on the site. This is that existing kind of storage garage building, some new units over here, and then a couple of units in the church itself. And then a new commercial kind of coffee shop, juice bar that's to support the medical facility and residential, but would also allow public use. And then I'm going to let Julian describe the conceptual master plan and what components we have on there.
Thank you, Angie. Well, it's just one, but yeah. Okay. Thanks, Angie. And my name is Julian Berg. I'm the architect on the project, working with North Point and Dr. Stokes. I'm really excited about this project because it mixes residential with commercial and medical, which we desperately need in this area. So I think it is creating a neat reuse of this existing church site. So this is the pointer here, right? Oh, I did the same thing you did. It's the middle one. Yeah. Okay. So as Angie pointed out, this is the existing church right here in the middle. And right now it's paved all the way around. So by doing a little reconfiguring, I was able to still provide the parking that we need here with a new entrance onto D Street that's a little further up from where it is now, which is right about here where these townhome units are. And then we removed the through path right here on the hill, which goes down to the lower parking. So it allows us to have more landscape and garden space and outdoor terrace space. As Angie pointed out, there will be 3 new townhomes here we're looking at doing, and then another 3 down here, but these would have garages at the rear. Creating a new front entry courtyard, which has a garden wall that helps buffer the noise of Harris Street to the new entry to the facility. Let's see. The blue rectangles are solar panels, which we have to do in today's day and age. It's not only something the doctor would like to do, but a green building code requirement. There will be bike parking at both sides of the facility. Wanting to do as much native planting as possible throughout. Go to the next slide. So this is the conceptual front elevation, which you would see facing Harris. So the existing church, which is the main mass in the center, and then there is an existing covered entry, which is a nice feature to have in Humboldt, and we're kind of jazzing it up with some redwood accents and knee braces. And then the entry patio right here with a garden wall with some stone accents. The existing brick will stay on the front and partially on the side. Some redwood siding accents here, hardy plank horizontal siding, and then new black metal window frames. So it gives it sort of a rural barn-like look with some modern elements to it. Cedar knee braces, standing seam metal roofing, and some black metal barn accent lights. That's really the gist of where we're at with the design. We're kind of waiting to do more detailed drawings until we have the zone change underway or approved. And like Angie said, I'll be available for questions as we get through it. So,
Thank you, Julian. So just some additional, oops.
Sorry, I just wanted to check if I Zoom really quick.
Okay.
Derek, are you checking if people are able to get let in? I realized I'm. Okay, cool.
So just some project highlights. The project, as Julian said, would allow for the bringing of critical medical services to Central Eureka and an area, and more medical services that we all know are needed in our community. It would support the applicant is interested in supporting single mothers through employment at the rural health clinic and also renting of the residential units as they're built. That's kind of his overall thought process in supporting working and single mothers. The project would supply adequate parking for both residents and patrons and includes a couple of electrical vehicle spaces. We're proposing the project would add up to 12 new housing units, which would support the city's housing element. The project is well located near Henderson Center with existing commercial development, well connected through public transit, pedestrian access, and bicycle access. The project would revitalize the current vacant site that's just been deteriorating over time with lack of use. And then it would also, once it's up and going, it would improve community safety as the site is currently vacant and prone to vandalism. Yeah. Is it plugged in? Did it work? Okay. So an environmental document was prepared for this project, an initial study with mitigation measures. That document, Caitlin will give more information at the end of her presentation, but there were certain components that were evaluated within that document. Some of those potential concerns were noise. So the project has been mitigated to, or has a mitigation measure to prohibit noise for during construction from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 to 5 on Saturday, with no construction allowed on Sunday or the holidays. The project also includes the requirement for acoustic analysis for new structures, meaning you have certain noise requirements in this portion of Eureka that need to be satisfied through building code. Traffic access, the project is well located near public transit and has 3 entrance exit points that will remain. Parking. The project includes, the site is well situated for ample parking. The required parking spaces are 0 because the site is located within a half a mile of a major transit stop. And when you're within half a mile of a major transit stop, the state of California passed regulations that require jurisdictions to not force minimum parking requirements. So no parking is actually required. However, bicycle parking is required. And in this case, the project will provide 36 parking spaces, 2 of which are electrical vehicle spaces, and then 16 bicycle spaces. And then again, cell towers are so popular, but this is an existing cell tower. It's not part of this project. There's a long-term lease that's been there and has been in place before the doctor purchased the property. Just a shot of the well-connected transit system. Here's the site, and you have the major stop. I think it's on, is it here, Leah? Yeah, Harrison F. And then just leaving it here on the front elevation rendering of the site, showing the church, the commercial area that Julian has drawn, and the existing entrance. And I'm leaving it here for next steps and questions. I think we're going to hold questions until Caitlin goes through the next steps in the process, and then we'll be happy to answer questions. I'm here. My name is Angie. We have Julian, the architect. We have Praj White, an engineer, and we have Leah Nelson, a planner, that we've all been involved with this project. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angie. Thank you. Okay, again, my name is Caitlin Castellano. I have been assigned this project. I'm the assigned planner from the city's Development Services Planning. So thank you for being here with us today, those in the audience and those in Zoom. I'm going to try to briefly go through the land use and zoning map amendment process, which is where we're at, where the applicants are at right now. So even though they have a proposed project consistent with the neighborhood commercial land use designation, as well as the Henderson Center zoning district designation, they can't build any of that unless the land use and zoning designations actually change from the current R1 residential low single family residential zoning district. So that was a mouthful. There's about 5 phases in these map amendment process. The first one is the general plan petition, and that goes to the city council at a notice public hearing. And at that public hearing, the city council must find that the map amendment must have the potential to be in the public's interest. So that did occur in March of 2023, and the city found that the amendment could be in the public's interest as it would allow for much denser development of housing, and it would repurpose a vacant church property into a mixed-use development, which could increase the property tax and potential sales tax base, because right now churches don't don't contribute to any of the tax base. Next is, so they approved that, and then the applicant was able to apply for their map amendments, and now that's where we're at right now. A CEQA initial study was prepared. We're in the 30-day review period right now. There was a notice of intent mailed to all property owners within 300 feet. It was posted to the city's website. There also was a sign posted to the site. I don't know if it's still there. Hopefully it is. The 30-day period for the CEQA document is commenced on September 9th, and then it ends on October 9th. But there will certainly be more steps in the process where you can comment on the project. So then the third step of this process would be to go to the Planning Commission with the proposed project that they're proposing right now. That'll be at a notice public hearing. And then the Planning Commission would consider that CEQA document, and then they would recommend to the City Council either approval, conditional approval, or denial to the city. We anticipate going to the November 13th Planning Commission meeting, so next month. And then the fourth step would be going to the City Council. Well, at that meeting, they'll hear the Planning Commission's recommendation, and then they could adopt the CEQA document and then introduce the zoning map amendment. And that is anticipated for February 3rd. And then after that, then there'll be one more meeting, and that'll be at the City Council. And that's not a noticed hearing, but then at that meeting, the council can approve with modifications or deny the map amendments. Oh, and that's anticipated for December 17th. So the map amendment notice, so I keep talking about these noticed public hearings and how you got a notice in the mail. There's a few ways that we notice the public for map amendments. And well, actually I should back up. We noticed 3 times for these, actually 4 times, and I'm only showing 3 on here. The first time was the general plan petition. Neighbors got noticed. Also, I need to back up. This is going on itself. We do mail a notice out of intent for the CEQA document. We mail a notice for the Planning Commission hearing. We mail a notice for the City Council hearing. These notices may be combined, but we're not doing that for this project, so there's going to be separate notices mailed out. The distribution process is you'll get either in the mail, you'll get a postcard or a letter that gets mailed to everyone within 300 feet, property owners, I should say, and any person who filed a written request for notification. So if there's anyone here that's not within 300 feet of the project site, you can give me your email address or your U.S. mail, your home address, and we'll make sure you get a notice. And then also a notice is posted to the project site on the city's website and at the City Hall bulletin boards downstairs. Also, for map amendments, we must publish a notice in the time standard. So the notice of intent to adopt the CEQA document does not require publishing, but the notice for the Planning Commission and the City Council will be published in the newspaper. So there's several findings of approval for map amendments. The first one is the map amendments must be consistent with the general plan and zoning code, meaning they really can't majorly conflict with goals and policies of the general plan or development standards in the zoning code. It has to be in the public interest. It can't be detrimental to public health, safety, convenience, or welfare. The map amendments must comply with the state general plan law, and then the affected site is suitable in terms of design, location, shape, size, and other characteristics to accommodate development that complies with the zoning code and the general plan. So if the City Council, if we get through this whole process and the City Council approves the map amendments, then what are the next steps? So these would be the next steps in the entitlement process. Portions of the project would have to go to design review and be heard by the design review committee. So that would be portions of the project that create building additions more than 30% of the existing building or new buildings greater than 500 square feet. They'll also require a building permit. That's a ministerial staff review. So no public hearing, I should say. The design review committee is a notice public hearing. They would need stormwater permit and a potential encroachment permit from Public Works. And then lastly, they'd need a business license from us. But there are, I do acknowledge that there's other permits and licenses that the applicant will probably need to get that's not required by the city of Eureka, like, whatever medical certifications they need, or like for the cafe, they'd have to go to the Department of Environmental Health and get clearance from them. So here's how you view the Harris Medical Center project CEQA document. If you got the NOI, the Notice of Intent mailer, there's a web link on that. Or you can visit the city's website. Here is the web address. You could also just go type in your web browser, City of Eureka public hearing notices, and it should take you to that web page. And then you can also go to the CEQA.net, which is the Office of Planning and Research web state clearinghouse for all things CEQA. All the CEQA documents get posted there. And you can put in this number to search it and find it, or you could just search in the CEQA.net search bar the Harris Medical Center project, and it'll pull it up. And then to comment on it, you can email your comments to planning@eurekaca.gov, or you can mail them to City Hall or drop it off at City Hall here, 531 K Street. So like I said before, the review period ends on October 9th, but that's just specific for the environmental review document. Oftentimes there'll be a supplemental document that goes with that environmental document to address, so like a response to comments. So whatever comments we get on the environmental document, we'll respond to them before the public hearings. But certainly during the Planning Commission public hearing, and then both the city council meetings, and then the first city council meeting, a public hearing, you can comment during all of those meetings. So sorry, I talked really fast. That was it. And I guess we can have questions now. We have people on Zoom, so I'm going to ask you to speak into the microphone.
Regarding the rural health clinic, as stated, will that involve primary care physicians? Isn't that basically what a rural health clinic involves, is primary care physicians?
I'm not here. Let me answer that. I think so, but I'm not exactly sure. Does the project team want to say that? Because I know that there's an urgent care, so that wouldn't be a primary. But yeah, rural health, I would think would.
Well, that's primary care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it could. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yes.
Is he on the Zoom?
No.
Oh. Well, he has a microphone.
You get two, one for each hand.
I mean, to answer the question, I believe it would be like all other rural healthcare you're thinking, kind of like a clinic. And yep, however, that is a medical specialty and specialty licensing. And so that would be the requirements down the line as the project comes forward. Meaning, I'm not an expert on medical licensing, but the intent of what you're saying, correct.
You can keep that microphone because I'm going to have you guys answer all the questions first. I'll answer process questions.
And Derek, can people on Zoom raise their hand if they have questions? Okay, if you're on Zoom and you have a question, you should be able to unmute yourself, and I can. Oh, we have one more in person first.
Okay, I'm not going to hog this too much longer. I'm a retired surgical nurse from St. Joseph Hospital. I have known D.K. Stokes for a long, long time. He's an excellent doctor. I've been inside the building. What he's doing is going to be nothing but good. I hope it goes through. I hope the Coastal Commission's not involved. Thank you. This is a wonderful project. I'm not within 300 feet, but this is an awesome project, and I don't know where the guy gets the energy. He's older than I am, and I'm almost 73. So let's get her done.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Okay, great.
So I am within 300 feet. I'm not opposed to housing. I'm not opposed to healthcare, but I have a lot of questions because this is going to have a huge impact on our quality of life. So I got a bunch of questions. First one is, if this is all approved, when is the anticipated date to break ground? Like ballpark?
if it follows the schedule that Caitlin pointed out, that there would be land use approval and the land use changes by the middle of December. There would be a process of plan development and application to the city. It'd probably take at least 6 to 9 months. And so I would anticipate if the earliest groundbreaking would happen would be like September of 25.
Thank you. It's helpful. I have a huge concern about construction 6 days a week, right? We live less than 300 feet away. There is no way that is not going to impact our quality of life. And I'm curious, like, if there's consideration of only doing it during the weekdays so that those of us that work can have time to rest and recover on the weekends. Is there any room for flexibility on that, or is that a for sure 6 days a week plowing ahead?
The 6 days a week is what's in the CEQA document. I mean, that's something during construction, if you want to talk to the applicant regarding. I just want to point out for the first phase of this project, it's remodeling the inside of the church. So the majority of the construction will be within the church building itself. It's once the residential starts. So Dr. Stokes is very amenable. So if there are issues or challenges, I think bringing it up to him would be very helpful. I can't promise anything because I'm not him, but I think that, you know, having an open dialogue is always good.
Great. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that as an architect, I'm working with contractors pretty much on a daily basis, and they usually do not work on the weekends because they need recovery time as well. And often they're off the job site by 4:30 or 5, you know, and they're out getting supplies for the next day or things like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about the weekend. It's possible if there's a weather thing where they've got to get things enclosed before the rains hit, things like that. But that would be my guess. Okay.
And then I think, putting on my city hat to answer your question, that the public process that comes up for the public hearings in the coming month or two, there is the planning commission and the city council that could hear your concern and could consider whatever constraints they would want to add to it. But I want to just echo what this gentleman said, that Mr. Stokes has got a lot of energy. He's always going, and you know, he'd be open to hearing the consideration.
Great, thank you. And I think the last question I had, the plan seems to keep changing and evolving, and I understand it's a dynamic process, but when this initially, you know, those of us within the 300 feet initially got the letter, it was like, oh, it's going to be a clinic and a spa, and there's going to be 18 housing units, and now it's less housing units, but there's also a cafe, and there's, you know, these additions and changes, and I'm just curious, you know, again, this is going to have a big, great housing, medical care, great, but we're kind of anxious about like what else is going to get added and how's that going to affect us. So any info you can give about that would be great.
Yeah, so the project has changed as we're moving through the process. The petition is the very beginning, so that's an initial concept with ideas of what could happen on the site, and then so that's why you saw the 18 units, and it was very once we pulled in the architect, it became very clear that that was too optimistic for the number of units. Here you see up to 12, and when we worked with the city on the project description to evaluate the environmental impacts, they wanted us to look what could be the maximum potential. So that's why we say up to 12. It's probably, you know, that's the maximum. It may be less than that. So what you're seeing here kind of really builds out the property. So there's not much more that can go here. So what you're seeing is close to what it's probably going to look like. It's either this or less.
I'd just add that, again, the city's environmental document that's posted has been evaluated to deal with the maximum amount of commercial square feet and the maximum residential units shown here. So it's my understanding if the project became more intensified than that, there would be a separate public review process. And so this is a maximum that you're seeing at this time.
May I add something? There is a defined footprint to this property. There's only so much Dr. Stokes is going to be able to do, and all he is going to be allowed to do is what is allowed by city codes, planning commission, city council, and public input. Henderson Center is a very vital hub, and there's a footprint. It's defined.
Did that answer your questions?
Thank you all for the information. That's helpful. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
If anybody on Zoom wants to talk, you can unmute or raise your hand. Don't all jump in at once. Anybody else? Any other questions? Oh, yeah. One in the back.
I'm sorry if this was already answered because I know I came in about 7-8 minutes late, but is the intent still with the housing for that to possibly be workforce housing for people that might be employed there, or is it just going to be open housing for whomever? And what's the income target range? Was that already discussed?
So we didn't.
Those are my 2 questions.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we didn't talk about an income target range. Haven't really discussed that with the applicant. His intent was to offer this to kind of working mothers, single mothers, and hope to support people that work at the facility, but that wouldn't limit someone who needs housing that is not at the facility. So the intent is workforce type housing at that level, but we haven't really discussed a fixed income level associated with that.
So this might be a question, well, maybe possibly for either one of you. With any kind of housing, people aren't actually allowed to or they're not allowed to specify, are they? Gender, stuff like, I don't think you are, right? I think there's, like, it sounds wonderful. That sounds like a really good thing. And I know you could choose to offer housing for your workforce, but I don't think you can do it, right? Because it gets into discrimination law, I think. I don't know if you can do a preference on, just FYI, I'm not sure that you can do a preference on male, female, single mom, that kind of thing. I think that might be.
That's definitely not a regulation in our municipal code, but there are probably some renters laws.
It's housing discrimination stuff, and it's my understanding that's if you're, for affordable housing.
Like if you're deed restricted, affordable housing,
And yeah, I'm not up on renting
rental law.
rental housing law.
And if you point,
I'll respond. I don't think the intent is to discriminate against anyone. And you have to follow all rental laws. So it's just an idea. It's just been a discussion. It's still open. And, the intent is good. So I'll leave it at that.
calling once, calling twice. Now, if you guys want, if you missed in there, if you want to contact me after the meeting, and I can give you my email address and my phone number if you have more questions, or you want to put in writing, your concerns or your questions or your support for the project, or concerns about the environmental document, the time is now to give me comments on that, and then we can address it in response to comments to the environmental document when we go to the planning commission. So yeah, lots of opportunities to comment on the project. And yeah, I'll let North Point. Yep.
I just want to clarify one thing, Caitlin, and I think happy to go through that. And when you went through the slideshow and you mentioned the dates of the planning commission and then the 2 visits to the city council, you mentioned February on the first city council, even though it said December. I just want to clarify for anyone watching that these meetings are going to occur between here and the December 17th date, I believe. Yeah, it was exactly. It was not a mistake. I just to make it clear that the intent in the current schedule would the comment periods and the adoption will occur by December 12th if we stay on track.
Yeah, so I can clarify that we'll go to the planning commission at their November 13th meeting, and then we will confirm the city council meetings at that meeting. But I believe I'm going to try to go to the first city council meeting, which is December 1, 2, 3rd.
All those meetings occur right here?
Yes. The planning commission's at 5:30 on Wednesdays, on a Wednesday, which like tonight, and then the city council's at 6 p.m. And sometimes you might have to wait a little longer, the city council meetings,
On Tuesdays.
potentially.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that. Yep. Well, thank everybody for coming and participating in this process, and we look forward to the next step. Thank you.